guys, how you all doing? How you coping in your self-isolation stations? I'm still pretty much doing the same, which is pretty much nothing except for making these videos. So at least it's given me a purpose. This quarantine has made me upload more than I probably have in the past couple of years. I've been more consistent with what I've been putting up and how often I've been putting it up. So at least something good comes out of it, because everything else is shit. I'm finally getting to talk about the Hunger Games. I made a video like a month ago or 2 months ago saying that I couldn't wait to start talking about the Hunger Games again, because even though I wasn't happy about A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the fact that it's coming out means that people are talking about the Hunger Games again. And they are. I've seen people are making videos talking about the books again. I've seen articles, videos, some weird countdown lists. I didn't want to talk about it on the internet back in the day, or more so I did, but I didn't have the means to, and I'm actually glad for that, because I was a psychopath. I've always told you guys about how I loved the Hunger Games. I was obsessed, so I don't think I would have been as rational as I am now in what I put across. So in a way, it's good that the Hunger Games has a resurgence, because now I can talk about it in a more calm manner, a more fair and unbiased manner. So what I want to start off talking about today is actually something that I was talking about with my mum yesterday. My mum watches a lot of makeup tutorials on YouTube, and she kind of uses them to improve her own makeup skills. And it reminded me of, as part of the promotion for the release of Catching Fire in 2013, CoverGirl released a makeup line. And I didn't think about it much at the time, because I was just excited for the fact that Catching Fire was coming out, and I had posters of the CoverGirl models doing the different district makeups, and I just thought it was fun. And if you want to look at it on a surface level, it's fun. It's just a fun thing that they did to promote the movie. But something that people actually talk about quite a lot now, especially years on, when they look back on how the movies were promoted. Lionsgate, and not just Lionsgate, they're not just the only ones, the only culprits of this. A lot of, like, I say girly articles, come on, it's normally girly websites and stuff that are asking this question, whether you're Team Peter or Team Gale. Basically, people have been talking about how the Hunger Games movies were perceived by people for a very long time, because a lot of people wrongfully saw it as the next Twilight, and that's where the whole teams thing came from. And I think the makeup line that they released for Catching Fire was an extension of this. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the entire series. The whole point of the Hunger Games was that the Capitol were taking children and killing them, but they were glamorizing it. They were making it seem like all fun, like a TV show, and they would put makeup on all the contestants before they went out into the games, and they would interview them and make it all seem like a big game. And once they won, it got even worse, because then they basically became celebrities. A term that was coined in the Hunger Games novel was Panem et Circuses. I might have pronounced that wrong, but that basically means bread and circuses. And basically all the districts are starving, while the Hunger Games is this big circus that goes on for the capital, parading all these starving people for the entertainment of the capital, which is mainly made up of affluent people who probably never knew hunger in their entire life. And in a way, it was to distract from the fact that what the Hunger Games basically was murder. And their way of distracting the capital from that was by glamorizing the kids that they brought in to the city to murder each other. And they did this by examining every kid, seeing what their flaws were, trying to fix them. They did a lot of things to these kids before they even went into the games to keep them pretty. Like, I remember in the first book, Katniss mentions, because if you haven't read the books, in the movie it's not that evident, but the boys were given something so that they wouldn't grow facial hair. And Katniss didn't notice this until she was in the cave with Peeta and she realised, we've been here for weeks and there's not even stubble. So she realised that they must have done something to the boys to make sure that they didn't grow any facial hair, so they stayed pretty, conventionally pretty, I suppose. And it's all part of this big circus act that they're putting on to distract from what the real problem is. And the ironic thing is that when these movies were being advertised, when they were making these makeup lines for CoverGirl, when I had these CoverGirl posters all over my wardrobe, when I couldn't help but chuckle at what Caesar Flickerman acted like, basically we were all falling for the circus, because it wasn't until after these movies came out that people kind of examined it in more depth, mainly on Tumblr. I've never seen a big media source like examine like what the Hunger Games was really about and why it was important. Basically the media put on this big massive circus about this movie. They asked you, what team are you on? Are you Team Peeta, Team Gale? Look at this makeup line that we're doing. It's all very pretty. Look at these models, very capital-esque. It actually, when you look at these CoverGirl posters, it is just like something that you probably would have seen in the Capitol. And us as viewers, when we consumed it without thinking about it and thinking how cool it was, we were basically falling for it. And it's not on as grand a scale as we were being distracted from kids getting murdered. I don't feel like we're at a point where that kind of thing would just fly under the radar. But in the same sense, we were falling for it because we were too busy consuming the makeup and all the fuzzy wee articles, even though I never really cared about Team What's It, Team Who, Team Haymitch, Team, I don't know, President Snow. I wasn't into any of that, but I was very excited. I'd never had any of the makeup, but I had the posters. And by falling for that, and not really thinking too much about it, we were all falling for the fact that we should have been focusing on what the Hunger Games is actually about, which is about a government oppressing its country to the point that it could take its children and murder them, and the Capitol were so naive that they were able to be so easily distracted that they didn't really think about how it was wrong, and they got excited for the circus every year and about this one girl who rose up from poverty without even really meaning to, and becoming a symbol of hope for the oppressed to rise up against this government and not take shit from them anymore. Now, I will concede that this may have been intentional. I don't think it was, because I wouldn't give Lionsgate enough credit to be able to think this deeply into it, but Catching Fire, the first half at least, was very much about covering up what Katniss had done in the first film. Katniss and Peeta were trying to pretty much dissuade the rest of the country from rising up and rebelling because of what they did with the berries. So maybe this was all just I don't know, double-sided thing where by releasing a makeup line, they were kind of doing their own version of covering things up. But as I say, I really don't think that Lionsgate would think that far into it. Thankfully, this type of advertising kind of went less and less prevalent with the next two movies because they focused more on the rebellion. It was actually very clever. They had BT like releasing like little like snippets like The Mockingjay Lives and new trailer coming at 0800 hours and that kind of thing, as the same way that BT would release propos and stuff to the masses during the rebellion in the films. So thankfully it only seemed to really be a problem with Catching Fire, which made me think that maybe it could have been a whole circus thing. As I say though, it doesn't, I don't think it would have been that, unless Francis Lawrence maybe had a hand in it, but I really don't think so. And the only thing I can think of is that maybe CoverGirl like paid a lot of money and they were just like, they couldn't turn down this big wad of cash that they were getting for this makeup line. And they did do similar stuff with like photos and stuff for the following movies, but it was in a different way. They did these propaganda images for the Capitol where they're basically trying to get the districts back on their side for the next two films, and it's not really selling anything. It was more in-universe kind of photography, whereas this makeup line was very much in the real world, trying to sell to people like me, and I fell for it. I'm sure a lot of people did. And it just amazes me how the series was able to leap out into the real world without even trying to. We all fell for the circus, such so to speak, because we fell for what the media was trying to push instead of what the actual message should have been. And there are many posts on Tumblr and such that put this much more eloquently than I did, but I wanted to make a video talking about it because I just remembered last night about having the CoverGirl posters on my wardrobe for the Catching Fire line, and just I just sort of thought to myself, like, you really fell for it, Erin, didn't you? Oh god. At least I can say I didn't fall for the teams. Mainly because I knew she was going to end up with Peeta from the start. Gail didn't stand a chance. Sorry if you like Gail, but come on. It's the truth. It's what happened. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think that Lionsgate had this big plan all along with the makeup line? Do you think that it was just a vapid means of advertising? Do you think that you fell for the circus as well? Or do you think that you were conscious from it from the very start? Did you have a big brain, as the meme says? Let me know down below, and I'll see you next week. Find my socials down below too, and remember, try to look deeper into things. Don't fall for the circus when there could be a deeper meaning, okay?